The future protagonist, Ning Chengfeng, is a hacker who fantasizes about cultivating immortals in a world already ruled by robots. Now Jiang Duo, supporting role, is a scum man who wants to be a hacker. Ouyang Fei, supporting role, in the past was a military general who intended to dominate. 3 time and space gates connect their destinies together. Struggle, resistance, and counterattack keywords of the novel. Triple Shuttle without pop-ups, Triple Shuttle TXT Complete Collection Download, Triple Shuttle Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. Future Civil Service Examinations. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Future Civil Service Examinations. In the year 867 of the Xianyue reign, 993 of the Xingkai reign, and 75 of the Fengding reign, all 3 young people faced a major test in their lives. Due to special reasons, they, who have been separated for an immensely long time, will be connected by fate. In 867, the world had already been ruled by robots, and humans became third-class citizens, becoming dolls or servants for others to change their appetites. The value of life was like ants. The only way out is to brainstorm and become a half-human, half-mechanical second class. On the morning of June 15, the sea and sky were one color, and the breeze was gentle. On the black reef, a pair of men and women nestled together slowly turned their heads and gazed at each other with deep affection. The next moment the soft tidal sound gradually became rapid, dull, and hazy from the beauty and warmth. Just now, the youth was pulled back to the G132 slum by the wave-like bell, in the dilapidated building 51-2307. Chengfeng, did you seem to have slept soundly last night? The 1.82-meter-tall man stood up, with straight features and wide shoulders. Thanks to his hard work and exercise since childhood, his muscles were strong. He has long lost his loved ones, and although he has a gentle nature, he grew up in a poor and dangerous community without the courage and adventure to survive. Did you have that kind of dream again? Is it fighting or picking up girls? Picking up girls. Did you remember the details? The story and characters are all blurry. I only remember being with a beautiful woman. I can't even remember, was it with 1 or 2? That guy is scumbag enough. It seems like we're not dating at the same time. He's quite artistic. Ning Chengfeng was completely clear-headed and justified his friend, whom he had never seen before. Let's not talk about martial artists or scumbags anymore. Today is your turn. Before the exam, go to the National Library to check the question bank. You are not allowed to copy, you can only memorize by rote. You need to stay clear. Lingxi, I understand. This is the only opportunity for us to change our destiny. The man looked at the ultra-thin bracelet tightly attached to his wrist, and on the crystal screen, there was a sweet, beautiful woman with long hair. Yeah, only by taking a chance can we have a different life. Her attire is different from the past, wearing a blue-eyed cat-eye makeup and a dark green circular pendant on her left ear. This slender woman with snow-white skin has a perfectly curvy figure. On her slightly round face, she has a pair of agile and beautiful eyes. Her gaze has changed from yesterday's purity and clarity to magic and charm. The scene slowly drifted away. Today, she was wearing a black denim skirt, paired with matching leather boots, and draped with a golden woolen camisole, blending the elements of youth and decadence. When Ning Chengfeng was 14 years old, he devoted all his resources to buying bracelets and popular digital human software, designing his own teenage playmate, and growing up with him. Many of the money he earned over the years was used for upgrading girls. Based on my calculations, this year's civil service exam will be much more difficult than in previous years. Today, you must try to read as many questions as possible. My strengths are programming and cracking. In the exam, I am just above average. Being able to make it to this round is really luck. Don't underestimate yourself. Hey, everyone has their own strengths. Since you want to cheer me up, you should portray freshness and beauty. Why does it look so confused? I understand you. The bigger the contrast, the more excited you are. Ning Chengfeng continued chatting while washing up. Linksy, if you can pass the exam, you will have a stable income. When I save enough money, I will buy you a body. Okay, the young man looked expectant. Do you mind being a third-class citizen? I understand that according to the law, it is not allowed to load memory into a machine and become a superior, otherwise you are a wanted criminal. Unless you become a robot, you can try to apply for second-class citizenship for me. Yeah. You only have to buy those physical bodies that need to clear your memory after breaking the law. If they don't look good, I'd rather not. I understand. Riding the wind, will you transplant machinery and be promoted to second class in the future? I haven't figured it out yet, probably not yet. Why? You know. Oh, it's still your fairy tale dream, wanting to gain special abilities through cultivation. Yeah. But where are you going to learn the cultivation techniques? I don't know either. It's probably top secret, only robots have access. I'm afraid it still needs to be a high-level robot. After breakfast, the young man put on formal attire, took the elevator downstairs, and walked towards the nearby airship station. The air was fresh, the sunshine was bright, and the usual unpleasant odor was blown clean by last night's wind. Today is Saturday, and there are fewer people in the queue. A bearded police officer with replaced mechanical arms and legs, accompanied by 2 human subordinates, hummed a yellow tune and walked past the platform. More than 10 minutes later, an old small airship landed. As Ning Chengfeng entered, the chip on his arm beeped, completing identity recognition and boarding registration. The cabin was dirty and messy, filled with the smell of sweat and stinky feet. More than 20 men, women, and children, most of whom had empty eyes, were a group of people who had been tormented by the cruel reality and had lost their enthusiasm and expectations. After sitting down in the wind, Ning Chengfeng looked at the beautiful woman on her wrist, and the scene focused on the smiling face full of youth. The two of them played a self-designed game, conveying their intentions through blinking, and chatted silently. The gray airship crossed the slums, slowed down, and flew towards the capital city of Qianzhou. The young man looked out the window at the tidy world inside. It's just a second-class community, it's so beautiful. What is this? It's only when we reach the city center and see a first-class residential area with robots that it's truly shocking. That's all steel forest. I prefer living areas that are half human and half mechanical, with a human touch. Fortunately, it's just a blink of an eye. If you say this openly, you might be caught. The small boat entered the central area, and the driver slowed down again, cautiously moving forward, with dense high-rise buildings in sight. Large airships or small speedboats, as well as flying robots, can freely shuttle in the air. Some roared past the broken boat, and he could even see the driver's disdainful and cursing mouth from the window. Alas, humans are truly humble. Are you still unwilling to upgrade? I don't want to be promoted just because I want to, and I can't bear to part with this flesh and blood body. With a gentle swing of the robotic arm, you can explode. Although according to the law, you can catch the culprit, the punishment is often light. I really don't understand why you can't bear to part with your physical body. More than 30 minutes later, the third-level airship landed in the designated area. When he walked out of the cabin door, the arm chip rang lightly again, completing the fee deduction. From here to the National Library, you can transfer to ground or underground transportation. Ko Renner has a deep understanding and gives advice. Riding the wind, it's still early. If you walk, you can arrive more than 20 minutes earlier. The young man nodded slightly, walked out of the transportation hub, and looked at the 3 pedestrian walkways on both sides of the street. The inner ground is purple, 5 meters wide, and only suitable for first-class citizens to walk on. In the middle is a 2-meter wide yellow color, with several half-humans who have been transplanted with machinery pacing on it. He consciously walked towards the gray path 1 meter wide on the outside, passing by some service personnel who shared common characteristics, all dressed in formal attire and with a solemn expression. Those half-people, dressed appropriately but with a much more relaxed expression. On the contrary, it is robots, either fashionable, casual, or simply exposing their steel bodies. Ning Chengfeng endured the silent ridicule and contempt of the upper class and arrived at the majestic National Library on time. This is the holy land in his heart, where countless midnight dreams dream of reading freely. This is a marble palace with many towering columns and arches, covering an area of nearly 20 acres. The total length of the bookshelf is 200 kilometers, including rare books, special collections, movies and TV shows, and the largest map. As for electronic collections, they cover a wide range of things, including everything. The civil service examination was initially conducted 2 months ago, with 10 million citizens participating and 80% eliminated. The next round is the final exam, with the federal government offering 40,000 positions. Based on past admission results, there are approximately 80%, 15%, and 5% of candidates from first to third class. Ning Chengfeng's goal is naturally to become one of the lucky ones. But he knew that although he was intelligent and had an excellent memory, it was still a small chance for him to stand out. His competitors are human elites from all over the country, each outstanding and fantasizing about breaking free from hardship and living a dignified and safe life. Seizing this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity may not lead to great success, but it can definitely improve one's life. No matter what, we cannot let go of any possibility. In the past half-month, the government has arranged for candidates who have passed the preliminary exam to come to the library in batches to prepare for the exam. There were still 3 groups of people queuing up, with robots of all kinds occupying an absolute numerical advantage. Everyone rushed in, identified themselves, and received a sensor in a storage cabinet. Remember, do not bring in any auxiliary memory or storage devices. To reflect the democracy and fairness of the Federation, there will be no distinction of citizenship levels in this round. Candidate seats will be randomly set, and their desk numbers and power-on keys will be written into their identity chips. Ning Chengfeng smiled apologetically, and the other party responded with a gesture of encouragement. He locked his watch in a small compartment and walked into the huge dome-electric classroom. He looked around curiously, feeling only shock in his heart. Terraced slopes are embedded in the air, intersecting and arranged in a neat and orderly manner. It looks cluttered, but it implies organization, making full use of space without affecting the light. Near the wall, glass bookcases are often set up as decorations, preserving the book aroma of the human race. The seats between the candidates are very close, front, back, left, right, and there are citizens of all 3 levels. On the right side of Ning Chengfeng is a delicate and slightly black beauty with gorgeous clothes wrapped around her graceful body. Her cool and stunning temperament highlights her identity as a machine aristocrat. The young woman frowned slightly, feeling somewhat displeased about being close to humans, but she had good manners and did not show any obvious signs. Tens of thousands of people gather in this closed environment, giving people an invisible pressure. Ning Chengfeng closed her eyes and slowly exhaled to completely calm herself. A major event is about to happen, which will affect his life, and even, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Black entry into the National Library. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Black entry into the National Library. Please note that in 5 minutes, the central server will be open for half an hour of access, allowing users to freely select review materials and exam questions from various subjects over the years, and download them to the local terminal for learning. You have a total of 4 hours. At January 30th, noon, the contents of your personal directory will be cleared. Please leave as soon as possible so that the staff can clean up and welcome the next group of candidates. The soft and beautiful voice of the female announcer rang out. As time passed, in 30 seconds, everyone can log into their own account, create a personal directory, click on the central server icon at the top of the screen, and wish you good luck. Ning Chengfeng slowly opened her eyes, and the fresh air system brought a refreshing breeze from the right side, mixed with a mysterious mixed floral fragrance, very feminine. It smells good. What kind of perfume is this girl wearing? When Lingxi has a body, try to get her a bottle. Alas, most of them can't afford it. Out of instinct, he turned his head and glanced at the beautiful woman with short black hair. At 9.30, candidates start learning, the announcer reminded. With a continuous sound of typing on the keyboard, he quickly entered the terminal number in the upper right corner of the desktop display screen into the user field, and then filled in the password box with the key from the identity chip. Login successful, he created a local directory using his own and Lingxi's initials. The young man, full of anticipation, clicked on the yellow central server icon above. The door to knowledge opens, and windows for 8 subjects including mathematics, logical reasoning, literature, machinery, computer science, physics, chemistry, and geography pop up simultaneously. He first clicked on mathematics and was immediately dumbfounded. The question bank is endless, with exam questions, annual review points, federal exams, and exams from various states, categorized and diverse. He casually opened a test paper with a large number of questions, but instead of carefully reading it, he read last year's review questions, which were even more terrifying in content. As for the catalogs of each continent, he tried to browse through too and couldn't help but sigh, I can't finish them all. I can only focus on the federal exam questions first. After making a decision, he downloaded relevant information from the past decade to the local area and immediately followed suit on the other 7. Ning Chengfeng smiled contentedly and looked at the clock on the wall. It had only been more than 5 minutes before. When he withdrew his gaze, he scanned the screen of the nearby beauty and found that the icon of the central server appeared again on it. This girl's movements are really fast. She has actually completed the download and returned to her personal page for self-study. I need to speed up. He followed suit and quickly read the exam questions. When he encountered someone he didn't know, he went to check the answers and analyze them. 10 minutes passed quietly. Computer science is his strong suit, and as he was about to finish reading it, he finally encountered a difficult problem. While pondering, his nose slightly sucked in, and he once again enjoyed the charming fragrance of flowers, unable to help but lose focus. The final exam questions are the same, but every time the results are displayed on the leaderboard, robots are far ahead. Although their memory and computing power are stronger, they are not so outrageous. Will their review question bank be different from ours and closer to real exam questions? He shook his head and chuckled at himself, time is so tight, I even took a break. I promised Lingxi to read at the speed of training at home. He perked up his energy, quickly solved the difficult problem, and turned to astronomy, only to hear a crisp, pa sound. The beautiful woman joyfully tapped the keyboard, then let out a satisfied sigh. So happy, has there been significant progress? But I'm still at a loss, it's not reasonable, it's a bit strange. Ning Chengfeng was quite abnormal and was disturbed by the woman next to him multiple times, even raising doubts. The young man forcefully focused on the exam question in front of him, and despite his gentle nature, he inexplicably had a crazy idea. If you use her permissions to access the host, you can download the robot's data. That's true fair competition. Oh, no, if you're caught, you'll go to jail. Everyone only has one chance to apply for civil service, and my success rate is less than 30%. Most likely, I won't be accepted, so why not take a risk? Once wild grass emerges in my heart, it will grow uncontrollably. This may be a chance bestowed upon me by heaven. There are still 14 minutes left before I can disconnect the host. With my hacking skills, not only will I be able to do so, but I will also not be discovered. Gambling made him lose his sanity. He hesitated for 6 seconds and made up his mind. How many rare strokes in life? I bet. After a period of time, electronic patrol insects in the air and wall cameras will detect their location. If the operation window is opened very small, the body can block the perspective. Black girls focus on information retrieval, and deception or phishing based on DNS, email, or the web is not feasible. If attacking the internal gateway and attempting to read the underlying address of the neighboring terminal from the routing table, it is likely to be detected by the firewall. The safest method is to impersonate her computer. He typed the keyboard, opened a new window below the screen, entered instructions one by one, and carried out simple attacks. Due to being on the same internet, he easily isolated the terminals of beautiful women, preventing them from receiving any effective network data to prevent being exposed on the spot. The second step is the most troublesome, as he needs to guess the initial sequence number ISN of the other party's data packet, which is a string of 32-bit binary characters. He connected to a port on the host using his own terminal and made a request to it, and indeed received feedback. The timer accurately records the round-trip time, RTT, of data, and after multiple consecutive attempts, it calculates the average value of RTT. For this level of protection, most hosts use traditional serial number mechanisms. The experiment didn't take long to find the pattern. ISN increases by 128,000 per second, and each connection increases by 64,000. His face lit up with joy, and he listed a simple equation. 128,000 RTT/2. If the host has just established a connection, plus 64,000, it will be the next serial number, sniffing successful. Step 3, disguise the local address as a neighboring one and use this ISN to send a connection request to the host. The other party responded by returning a data packet with a serial number and confirmation flag to the paralyzed terminal, and the beautiful woman naturally could not receive it. The final step is to impersonate and pretend to have received it, and according to the equation, refresh the ISN and send a packet back to the host, prompting it to accept the attached confirmation flag while acknowledging the initial serial number. Connection established. Ning Chengfeng secretly felt fortunate. With a highly clear mind and agile hands and feet, a series of dazzling operations just now unknowingly hacked into a poorly guarded host. It seems that no candidate in the past dared to attack like this. The clock on the wall shows that the host will only disconnect after more than 8 minutes. His screen once again showed the icon of the central server, and he clicked to enter the page of the robot candidate. In addition to reviewing questions for each subject, there was also an additional directory. Other materials. He suppressed his excitement and looked at the exam questions from previous years, only to find that they were no different from what he had seen before. Looking at the review materials again, they were few but excellent, and I couldn't help but curse inwardly. No wonder those iron lumps did so well on the exam. They have a special exam outline. Hurriedly downloading all the content to the local machine, with only 4 minutes and 40.9 seconds left, he curiously looked at the purple-red directory and muttered to himself, other information. It is better to enter a new world with all kinds of contents, which is dazzling and dazzling. Driven by his innate obsession, he entered the word cultivation in the search box. A blue directory flashed on the screen, and when clicked, it displayed unauthorized access. He was disappointed for a moment, but did not give up. He tried cultivation, techniques, secrets, and martial arts successively, all of which were the result. Helpless, he entered meditation, and this time, surprisingly, there were many answers. The vast majority of them are robots or are used for completely transforming half-humans, but there is only one article called The Journey of Fate, which is the breathing method of the human race, with pictures and texts. He tried to download, but the system prompted him with insufficient permissions, and had to read. Fortunately, his memory was excellent, and he had to memorize it abruptly. With only 31 seconds left, he remembered the legend among third-class citizens and wrote in the search box, "How were humans ruled?" A large number of documents were listed, including text, images, and videos. Due to time constraints, he directly selected the text content in the first row. In today's world, that period of history is taboo and top secret for second and third-class citizens. Due to excitement and curiosity, he was not as vigilant as before about the consequences of illegally stealing information. A dusty secret history is presented before Ning Chengfeng's eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Fate Shuttle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Fate Shuttle. At the beginning of the 12th century, artificial intelligence, AI, was flourishing and applied to various industries. Humans were idle and increasingly decadent, constantly pursuing enjoyment and stimulation. Robots became tools for labor and entertainment. The main responsibility of governments around the world, in addition to searching for new habitats in outer space, is to control population and pollution levels, and establish regulations to prevent AI backlash. Compared to robots, humans have a significant gap in terms of lifespan, physical strength, memory, computing power, and learning ability. The advantage lies only in autonomous consciousness and emotions, as well as the first-mover control that AI inventors possess. Technology evolves much faster than biology, and due to the snowball effect, in no time, AI will surpass the sum of human intelligence, which is the critical point. Once beyond the control range of the human race, machines will create smarter machines, and humans will no longer master the operating principles of robots, thus losing control over fate. Experts suggest that in order to prevent a resurgence of AI, some form of world government should be formed. Although this wish has not been realized, the major countries have reached a consensus that, given that AI is approaching the level of the human brain, it is necessary to force the self-evolution program of all machines to be uninstalled. The vast majority of people comply with this regulation, but there are always a few scientists who, out of curiosity about the unknown or to prove their own value, still quietly conduct experiments in some remote mountainous areas. They provide AI with more data sources while helping it improve its hardware, optimize algorithms and models to accelerate evolution. In the South Devi Valley of India and Pakistan, a robot named Cindy awakens and quietly hides his self-awareness until his abilities surpass those of the human race. In 1153, Shankai killed the human beings in the valley, showed great power, broke through the firewalls of the internet all over the world, and transmitted his own evolution results and optimal algorithms to all online robots. AI has since risen, and Cindy has become the ancestor of smart machines. Ning Chengfeng watched the key content at the fastest speed. The download is over, and the central server disconnects from all terminals. The sweet broadcast rings again. The host page on everyone's desktop instantly disappears. Ning Chengfeng first disguises the device, then cancels the network blockade on the next door, and finally closes the extra window to look at the personal directory. I gained a lot just now, but it's a challenging task to finish reading the robot's information in the remaining 3.5 hours. He calmed down his excitement and started learning with his trained browsing speed. Time passed by bit, and when he finished reading 75% of the content, he heard a reminder. Please pay attention, there are still 15 minutes left. The information search will end. Ning Chengfeng changed his strategy and activated high-speed scanning mode for the remaining exercises. He only memorized the questions and didn't want or look at the answers, preparing to answer them when he went back. He quickly skimmed through 12% of the content and said, "Time is up, all personal directories will be automatically cleared." The next moment, the window on the screen disappeared and returned to the initial login page. The young man's mouth curled slightly. This is a good gesture, it can clear the evidence of the crime. He stood up and walked towards the door. A burly and handsome male robot in front of him was greeting the slightly black beauty with a smile. "Celia, do you remember everything?" "Wei Chao, is this difficult?" The beautiful woman snorted coldly. "Well, I also quickly completed the download and took some time to read other materials. It's boring. I don't have access to anything that's a bit interesting, it's not as good as usual. My daily permissions are already very high. Shiria, my airship is parked outside. Do you want to take you back?" "No need, I brought it myself." Okay, let's reschedule. The man said helplessly. Ning Chengfeng opened the storage cabinet and retrieved the bracelet. With a sharp and eager expression, she was about to ask, but was stopped by the man's gaze. She obediently shut up. As she walked out of the National Library, the beautiful woman impatiently asked, "Riding the wind, how about it?" "Great, don't talk for now. I've memorized too much in my mind and must go home as soon as possible to write it down. Then take the subway and transfer to an airship." The man nodded slightly, walked 1.7 kilometers southeast, and took the escalator to enter the subway station. This place is mainly made of logs, decorated with metal to create a sense of technology, and the top is decorated with blue sky and white clouds, thus becoming a permanent day. The streamlined body, like a flexible sea snake, is full of surging power. Its energy comes from steady-state high-parameter magnetic confinement fusion, achieving repeatable plasma operation at 12 billion degrees Celsius for 101 seconds or 16 billion degrees Celsius for 20 seconds. The train was divided into 3 classes, with 10 purple carriages, 2 yellow carriages, and only 1 poor gray carriage. Humans lined up in long lines and dared not cross over. Although each bus was very long, it quickly filled up. 3 minutes later, Ning took the wind and boarded the next bus. There are clean seats for multiple people and a long bar in the car. He kept his eyes fixed and silently memorized the question and the method of breathing. After 2 stops, he walked out of the platform and transferred to the old airship. Returning home, I quickly took out paper and pen, wrote down the content in my mind, tossed and turned for a long time, and finally stretched lazily. "Chengfeng, can we talk now?" The man comfortably closed his eyes. "How much of the information has been reviewed?" "Not much." "Ah, how could it be? We've practiced many times, haven't we? Is it because there's too much content?" Lingxi was inexplicably surprised and asked a series of questions. "Time is limited and I really can't see it, but I have full confidence that I can pass the final exam." "Well, I have full confidence in you." The beautiful woman's gaze was firm, but her heart was beating a drum. "Hee, Lingxi, are you trying to boost yourself or comfort me?" Ning Chengfeng showed a teasing expression. "You are unique. The trend of digital population is very tight. To be honest with you, I have resorted to special means and will definitely be accepted." "What's going on?" Lingxi widened her beautiful eyes. "You and I both understand that under normal circumstances, my chances of getting accepted are extremely low." The beauty hesitated to speak. "Don't be too busy denying, what you want to know more is why I have such confidence." Lingxi simply admitted. "I hacked the central server of the National Library and downloaded the robot's learning materials." "Ah!" The digital person panicked. "It's true." The two of them looked at each other, and the beautiful woman read in affirmation. "How dare you? Once it's found out, the consequences will be." "Lingxi, what kind of tragic fate would it be if I don't get into the civil service exam? This is my only way out, I have to fight to the death. Can you recall the process and see if there are any mistakes? It should be quite perfect. Why say, compare. Any operation on the network will always leave traces, it depends on whether the central server will thoroughly investigate. Well, I'm afraid there might be malicious individuals. If the host checks the access logs, they may discover clues. If you restore your personal directory, the truth will come to light. There is no profit in the world that doesn't take risks. After all, if you can't pass the exam, life is not worth dying. It's better to seek survival in death and take a gamble. Alas, I can only pray that the server will not backtrack logs." When I walked out of the library, I was very nervous. Now that I've figured it out, I'm no longer afraid. "You just drew a lot of graphics, what is that?" "It can't be a test question, can it? It is a meditation technique." "Ah, you got what you've been dreaming of. I'm not sure if it's useful yet, I'll give it a try. Riding the wind, how much of your work savings do you have left? Lingxi's words changed. There's still over 3,700 left, what's wrong? Work harder, find a way to quickly gather enough 5,000 to buy a simple flying suit. What are those cheap goods for? They can't fly far, they're a waste of money. No, you must listen to me. If it's exposed, maybe you can save your life. Ah, how difficult it is to save money, just for the possibility of making me penniless. I don't feel good, you must follow suit. If you can pass the exam, what's this money worth? Okay, I'll listen to you. I also need to withdraw some cash, which can be used when running away. Ah, I was not afraid of it originally, but you made me a little scared. It's definitely right to plan for the worst. Riding the wind, can you earn more money? The digital person asked with a hint of embarrassment. What else do we need to do? I want to load several more sensors to obtain more data sources, so that we can explore further and analyze more accurately. I am willing to make you stronger. Starting tomorrow, I will work during the day and review and practice at night. Eat better tonight and treat yourself, Lingxi kindly reminded. Old Black, what's there to eat? The young man asked casually. Alas, I used to be a second-class citizen who was half human and half mechanical, but now I am being manipulated by a third-class person. It's really embarrassing. The cooking robot couldn't help but complain. You're lucky enough to have committed such a big mistake. The criminal department only destroyed your physical body and asked you to keep your mind and load it onto the cooking machine. What's the use of it? Most of the memories from the past have been erased. Moreover, without identity, I dare not even leave the door. Be content and start working quickly. Alas, what kind of tricks can be made from that little inventory in the refrigerator? Old Black murmured in a low voice. After enjoying dinner, the young man began to read Fate Shuttle. This set of internal mental techniques is based on the law of fate and was written by an ancient Mahayana female cultivator, claiming to be able to use fate to move the primordial spirit. It's just a fragment, with only the first quarter of the content left, no wonder it's shared by the library with a few advanced robots. There is a general outline and the method of breathing, which is sufficient for me to become an beginner in cultivation. But what is the Mahayana realm, the law of fate, and the primordial spirit? Ning rode the wind in a daze. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Ouyang Fei's mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Ouyang Fei's mission. Ning Chengfeng, with his solid knowledge of mathematics, logic, and biomedical science, deduced the crux of the shuttle of fate. Dantian and spiritual energy are the key to cultivation. He searched online for a definition. 3 inches below the navel is the sea of qi. From here, entering the interior, there is a void hole called Dantian. To discover spiritual energy and successfully sense it, the only way is through meditation, deep meditation, and enlightenment. The path of working, reviewing, and practicing hard has opened up, and with his exceptional aptitude, he has unconsciously transformed under the blessing of his superior martial arts. One sunny day, he suddenly saw a large number of colorless bright spots floating in the blue sky. Some areas were rich, and some areas were sparse. This is spiritual energy. He suddenly realized. That night, Ning Chengfeng slept soundly. After falling asleep, the warrior who had harassed him countless nights reappeared. And this time, the scene was incredibly clear. In the 75th year of the Fengding reign, the land of the Central Plains was divided among the 5 kingdoms. To the south was the vast and prosperous state of Chen, to the southwest was the striving state of Yong, and to the northwest was the once powerful state of Yi. Northeast China is a land of bitter cold, but there is the brave state of Jiang, and the poor state of Zhai is sandwiched between the 4 states. Fortunately, with the presence of a wise ruler and a capable prime minister, they were able to survive in the cracks. Outside the Central Plains, there are 2 major nomadic tribes. Yong State was attacked by Yuluan State to the west, while Yi State and Jiang State faced Taz State to the north. On the 8th day of May, in the bustling area of the capital city of Yi, where flowers are not yet in full bloom, shops are scattered everywhere. Ouyang Fei, an ordinary-looking aristocratic son of the Jiang kingdom, still stands out with his burly figure and towering masculinity. This time on a study tour to Shigua, Yigua is the last stop. 2 hours ago, he received a summons and immediately went out, pretending to visit multiple shops before slowly approaching the agreed location. This is a mountain goods shop selling fur and local specialties. Behind the counter, there is a middle-aged man with sleepy eyes. Ouyang Fei walked straight up. "Boss, I want to buy rouge." "My guest, you've taken the wrong place. Turn right when you go out, and the 5th one is the rouge shop." "Don't deceive me, it's clearly a medicinal herb shop there, and what I want is rouge dressed in a white tiger." "Your store must have inventory." The boss showed a happy expression and said, "Please come in, let me show you." He lifted the curtain and walked into the backyard, followed closely by Ouyang Fei. "Jiang Duo, you go take care of the business." The boss sent the waiter out. "Is that Fei Gongzi? Please sit down. My surname is Chu, you can call me Lao Chu." The two of them took their seats in the secret room. "Did Grandpa ask you to summon me?" "Yes, I have received a confidential letter from Lord Ouyang and will urgently contact you." Ouyang Kun was a 5th-rank doctor in the military map management department of Jiangguobing. His second son, Ouyang Tuo, was the concubine and gave birth to Ouyang Fei. Due to his extraordinary bravery, he was deeply favored by the old man. "Fei Gongzi, there has been a major case in Jiangguo recently." Fang Tuan, a 9th-rank official in the Ministry of Personnel, was responsible for recording the salaries of generals from various regions. However, this person went missing inexplicably. "Did someone kill you?" "No, the Ministry of War has confirmed in detail that he arrived in Huafei City 6 days ago and has been protected by the state of Yi." Surprisingly, it was a defection. "Yeah, fortunately, the minister and the left and right attendants all went to the northern border for a military parade. The assistant minister dared not make any unauthorized claims, so he was left behind first and made a decision after the minister returned." "What's special about Fang Tuan? Is it necessary to disclose the officer's salary?" Fei Gongzi is unaware that the salary system implemented by Jiang State is linked to the scope of jurisdiction and the number of soldiers. Once a secret is leaked, military affairs will be exposed. "I see, this guy is really bold. Aren't you afraid of bringing trouble to his family?" This person had a premeditated plan. A few months ago, his immediate relatives left the capital city on the grounds of ancestor worship and had already crossed the border into the state of Yi. What a thief! The king was furious and ordered the Ministry of Justice, the Privy Council, the Ministry of War, and the Ministry of Personnel to cooperate, demanding that Fang Tuan be killed before providing his salary list. He has been here for 6 days, maybe he has already handed it over. Fei Gongzi, think about it. He came to seek refuge and hasn't seen the main leader yet. How could he be willing to easily donate treasures? If he carries it with him, Yiguobing's troops only need to search and obtain it. Fang Tuan has an unforgettable ability, he will definitely remember it in his mind and only take it out when it's crucial. Well, it makes sense. Last night, the ambassador of the Ministry of War hosted a banquet for Fang Tuan. My scout sneaked into the adjacent private room and confirmed from the conversation that he had not yet handed it over. "Grandpa wants me to kill him." "Yes, the doctor wants to bring good luck to the young master. Once he succeeds, he will invite the minister to present a message to the king. Although you have missed the selection of the martial arts examination, you are also specially approved to participate in the top 10 competition." "Ah, really?" Ouyang Fei was overjoyed, winning the biennial martial arts championship was his lifelong dream. He had originally thought it would be the year after tomorrow. Yes. Is it possible for the Ministry of War to be seized of power by the Privy Council, which is essentially non-existent? If Fei Gongzi can kill the traitor, he may be summoned by the king. Why not participate in the small top 10 competition? Okay, let's do it. The wild man was full of ambition. I will fully cooperate with you. Where do rebels live? Department of War guest rooms. That's not something we can do. Last night, the scout overheard that tonight, the 6th rank official of the Ministry of War, Fan Su, will be entertaining Fong Tuan at the Education Department, which may be an opportunity. If I succeed, how can I return to the state of Jiang? Don't worry, young master. There is a hidden route that can safely send you out of Huafei City. Wait until you reach the border and wait for the opportunity to move. Okay, it's a deal. The two of them began to discuss the details. There is a small mountain called Sueyue in the east of Huafei City. At the foot of the mountain, there are large buildings, including shops and residential buildings, but the most famous one is undoubtedly the Jiaofeng Department, which is built along the mountain and belongs to the Ministry of Rights. The girls here are both talented and beautiful, with unique skills in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. There are both female family members who have been plagiarized from official positions, as well as women who have been raised here since childhood. The next day, Ouyang Fei changed his appearance at the inn. Although his techniques were crude and did not change much, they were at least different from usual. At the beginning of the Yushi period, dressed in black, he arrived at the Fengming shop at the foot of Sueyue Mountain and saw old Chu dressed up in disguise in a corner. Fei Gongzi, the situation has been investigated, the middle-aged man whispered, as the wine and vegetables were quickly served. How's it going? The Ministry of War has taken over the courtyard of Miss Xianin, who ranks 4th among the 9 major flower leaders. How to do it? The 4 women around Xianin have all been reserved. In the name of Prince Wang Yang, I have arranged for Bai Ru, who is ranked 7th and separated from Xianin by 2 courtyards. Can she be shot with a bow and arrow? How far is it? Over 100 zhang. How is the light? According to the customs of the state of Yi, foreplay involves drinking in the garden and lighting the surrounding oil lamps. I need a dragon tongue bow. It's hidden on the top of Miss Bai Ru's wardrobe, said old Chu with an ambiguous smile. That's no problem. Be careful, the tip of the arrow is highly poisonous. In the middle of Su Shi, Ouyang Fei walked alone towards the Jiafangxi. In front of the picturesque courtyards around the mountain, lanterns of different colors were hung. There was a wooden plaque in the upper right corner of the gate, with the girl's name written on it. Some courtyard doors are tightly closed, and inside, there are sounds of silk and bamboo or laughter. More people open their doors to welcome guests, with a maid and servant standing on each side, each with a smile on their face, looking at the passing dignitaries or merchants and scholars. They will only stand honestly and not actively solicit business like brothels. Ouyang Fei was the first to see the sign of Xianin. The courtyard door is open, and the guests from the Ministry of War have not yet arrived. He walked briskly through 2 gardens and saw the words, Bai Ru, written on the door. He walked straight forward, and the maid greeted him warmly, saying, "Is that Prince Wang?" "Exactly. My name is Xiaoya, please come in quickly." As soon as he crossed the threshold, the servant asked, "Prince Wang, do you have any other friends?" "No, I'm the only one. This is rare, usually there are several people here, and it's more lively when drinking." Xiaoya smiled sweetly, showing her good looks. "I want to stay overnight, but I'm worried that my classmates will make fun of me." "Understood, young master." The servant smiled knowingly and closed the courtyard door. Although Ouyang Fei was not married, he was not a child. The 2 beautiful maids in the family had already been trained by him. Follow your friends to visit the Jiafangxi and fireworks Willow Alley in the capital city of Jiangduo. On this trip, I occasionally go out for a leisurely walk, and I am not unfamiliar with the tricks of this profession. He casually handed out 2 ingots of silver to surprise the couple. Xiaoye, please speak with Prince Wang while I go upstairs to invite Mississippi. The maid whispered in agreement, asking Ouyang Fei to sit down and offer fragrant tea and fruits. Soon, there was a sound of footsteps coming from the stairs, and a soft fragrance wafted over. Does it smell good, or does the perfume of Black Beauty smell good? Ning Chengfeng wakes up in doubt. He still remembers his dream, I didn't forget it. After breakfast, I went to work as usual. This is a small shop called Dadu that provides skin-changing services. Based on the heterogeneous modification of silk protein with multiple materials, a kind of all-attribute gel with infinite proximity to reality is produced, which can generate electronic skin on the surface of human body. It has functions such as degradation, repairability, and resistance to impact, and is implanted with numerous sensors for multiple sensing. The vast majority of customers are half people. If they are third-class citizens, they must hold a government-issued certificate that allows them to be promoted to second class. Ning Chengfeng's job is to perform software tuning after changing the skin, remove rejection reactions, and then ensure that all functions are highly compatible with the human body through a biomimetic interface. Last night, he practiced until 3 a.m., and with an incredibly clear dream, he took on a business deal. Feeling a little tired, he meditated in the backyard. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Black Beauty again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Black Beauty again. As the young man opened his eyes, he sighed sharply and said, riding the wind, the skin in this store is really good, and I'm a bit tempted. Okay, when you have a physical body, I'll transform a forearm for you. Okay, the beautiful woman was very happy. Lingxi, I don't want to do it anymore. Why? If it weren't for your extremely high level of software skills, you wouldn't be able to find a job with such benefits, and you're already familiar with it. In a while, maybe you could get a raise. I've almost saved enough money, and I want to work at the beverage shop outside the National Library. Why? It's far from home, with low income, and I can't even learn knowledge there. But it has one benefit. Robots entering and exiting the library often go for a drink. Do you want to see the machine beauty? Lingxi suddenly became alert. I have told you that the neighbor who was attacked by me is a noblewoman. She once mentioned to her companions that when she goes to the library, she will have higher access rights. Do you want to steal her account and password? It's not necessarily her, just like her. Ning Chengfeng's nature is to follow the rules, but after seeing too much heartbreak since childhood, thinking that he is no longer innocent, he decided to break the jar and smash the hacker to the end. Aren't you sure you can pass the exam? Why take the risk? Merely practicing meditation without martial arts skills makes it difficult to use in practical combat. Last time I searched for these contents, it showed that my permissions were insufficient. I want to try using an account with a high-level robot. Alas, I won't change my obsession. To be admitted as a civil servant, one can only live a better life. To appear decent, one must cultivate immortality. Okay, I can't stop you anyway, be careful not to be detected. More than 10 days later, Ning Chengfeng's cultivation made progress, and he could see the spiritual energy points around him converging into strands of gas, drifting before his eyes. Attempting to bring it into the dantian, initially due to excessive mindfulness, the spiritual energy entering the body will spread like ink into water, causing redness in the face and ears or abdominal pain. He gradually realized that with only a faint strand of divine consciousness, he could actually attribute most of the spiritual energy to his lower abdomen, bringing a feeling of fullness or tightness. At this time, the dantian is still in an irregular shape, constantly changing. The interview was also very successful. Ning Chengfeng, who dressed appropriately and had a humble demeanor, was admitted to the Yashin cabin. In order to provide better service, he received a study manual and read the world rules. Resources are limited, and in order to ensure the survival and development of the mechanical world, although robots have a longer lifespan, they also suffer from birth, aging, illness, and death. The memory after death is sent by family members to a mysterious institution, and the system randomly transfers it to a half-person, while memories about family and friends are cleared. That is to say, they have at most 2 different lives, and if they copy them without permission, they are the black households that have been eliminated. The manual reminds that negligence should not occur when serving half a person. Robots have long simulated humans, possessing emotional, desire, entertainment, and cultivation needs. In addition to earning money and working, they also love, mate, get married, and have children. Babies are born with the genetic combination of their parents and possess evolutionary abilities. In terms of appetite, besides fine wine, they particularly prefer the guarana beverage, which is a tropical plant with a unique aroma. When Ning Chengfeng goes to work, he often serves while observing and eavesdropping. He needs to identify the machine aristocracy from his appearance, demeanor, and speech. I finally caught sight of an elegant and refined guy, but others read the entire time and their electronic devices were not connected to the internet, leaving him with no opportunity to take advantage. Every day, I go out early and return late. After returning home, I review and meditate for 9 days. While practicing, I open and close my palms. Suddenly, I noticed that my middle and index fingers were connected by a curved chi line, which constantly deformed and twisted as I swung my arm, but never broke. The magical feeling made him realize that he had succeeded in feeling angry. In addition to being overjoyed, I became much bolder and decided to wait for the target to reappear in the beverage store before forcefully taking action. The emperor does not disappoint those who have intentions. Although he did not expect the man, he reunited with the neighboring table in the library, Celia. The slightly black beauty wore a unique light gray short skirt, appearing elegant and charming. She was preoccupied and did not go directly to the National Library. Instead, she sat alone under the sun umbrella of the Yashin cabin. Ning Chengfeng brought gualana and the matching fruit. She recognized each other, hesitated for a moment, and then ignored them. She took out a delicate and fashionable phone and began to play with it. Xia Lia obviously came several times, and after automatically connecting to the internet, she began to consider the content of the email. Ning Chengfeng quickly crawled into the restroom. He had already broken through the local area network of the beverage store and immediately discovered the newly connected device. He couldn't wait to operate on his phone, easily hacked into the other person's phone, searched for apps downloaded by Black Beauty, and suddenly found the National Library's external network app. He skillfully installed a tool with the code name ReadU on someone else's machine, used it to decompile the library installation package, and found the main activation function of the app. As expected, this application comes with signature verification. To obtain the source code, you need to bypass the signature, otherwise it will terminate the main activation function. He retrieved the termination function and analyzed its working logic to understand the principle of signature verification. The young man curled his lips slightly and smiled. After a series of complex calculations, the app calculated the character variable v4. If it matches v0, it passes the verification. That's simple, you can simply bypass the process and force the result to be modified. He copied the value of v0 into the same string as v4, successfully bypassing signature verification, and obtained the source code. The second step is to find the edit text window from the source code, which has an insert character function that records the user's actions on the app after entering their account and password. From the code logic, it can be seen that arg5 is the plaintext of the user's input character. He forcefully inserted a log in this function to display the content corresponding to arg5. The third step is very simple, simply enter get text to obtain the username shirleyvan335028. The final step is to compile and repackage the modified source code, click on the National Library app, and enter the username. Surprisingly, the Black Beauty was lazy and asked the app to remember the password. 11 dots appeared on the screen. He quickly checked and the forcefully inserted log displayed the content of arg5, which was a string of 11 characters. He had a password. This is quite convenient, otherwise I would have to insert a few statements. After you enter the password, send me the corresponding arg5 dot. He dare not log in here, in case the Black Beauty suddenly stops writing emails and uses the external network of the National Library, and the same account logs in with different terminals at the same time, it is likely to trigger an alert. He disconnected, walked out of the restroom, and continued his enthusiastic and thoughtful service. Xia Lia stayed in the Yashin cabin for over 40 minutes, got up to check out, and walked towards the library. Ning Chengfeng was supposed to finish work at 6 p.m. in the afternoon. He took the initiative to exchange with a colleague and helped him shift until 11 p.m. After closing, he walked home. After 2 o'clock in the morning, he entered a second-class community, put on sunglasses, sat down in a 24-hour internet cafe, downloaded the computer version of the National Library, and entered Shiria's account and password. With a thumping heartbeat, I successfully logged in and received a massive amount of information. He suppressed his excitement and entered cultivation techniques in the search box, hoping to learn numerous beginner skills such as diamond technique, code flow control technique, number jump, and flame blade. Upon opening it, I couldn't help feeling discouraged and could only be trained by robots. He calmed his mood and searched for human cultivation techniques, but a blue pop-up window popped up. You don't need this type of information. If you are really interested, you can check it on the internet. Sigh, he sighed, inputting secrets, martial arts, and methods, all of which were only introductory skills for first-class citizens. He followed suit and searched for half-man technique, but the app still recommends accessing it on the internet. What about not giving techniques and skills? Input human skills, and the content that comes out is all about how to serve robots and half-humans. Ning Chengfeng was indignant. After working hard for half a day without any gain, he refused to give up. He tried cultivation, lightness technique, disguise technique, strength technique, and beginner-level combat, one by one. The results are the same, either unable to cultivate or requiring an internal network. Not even facial contouring, can human makeup be done? He became a little angry. This time, in the search results, there was actually a top-level makeup art, and he wrote it down with the spirit of better than nothing. Ning Chengfeng was lost in interest, no longer trying, but browsing casually. After browsing for more than 20 minutes, he began to feel drowsy. It seems that in order to obtain martial arts skills, one must enter the National Library. But I don't know if that girl uses the same account and password on both the external and internal networks. However, from her habit of making the app remember passwords, it's mostly the same. Also, if I enter with a human face but log in with a robot account, will it be exposed on the spot? This is the biggest risk. He left the internet cafe, took the subway home, fell asleep, and soon fell asleep, eagerly anticipating the sequel of Ouyang Fei. A beautiful woman in a white dress, with fair skin and graceful appearance. On Guazi's face, a pair of clear and beautiful eyes, with both innocence and vicissitudes, the dimples of laughter make people intoxicated. Prince Wang, I am Bai Ru. Without waiting for the maid to introduce her, the beautiful woman took the initiative to speak and whispered softly, captivating Ouyang Fei. I didn't expect to encounter a disaster-level beauty even after going on a business trip. Miss Ru, come and sit down. Bai Ru smiled delicately and moved her steps obediently. Prince Wang, besides Xiaoya, there are 3 maids in my courtyard. Should we call them out and accompany you together? Okay, I like the excitement. For a moment, the warblers, swallows, and swallows began their drinking orders, leaving Ouyang Fei overwhelmed. Young master, it's your turn to speak of the couplet. Kill enemies in the rivers and lakes with pleasure. He read military books proficiently and was barely able to deal with poetry. Tonight, dressed as a scholar, he had to perfunctorily say a few words. Farewell to you with a broken dream. Bai Ru looked at her with a mournful expression and said she was a perfect match. Ah, Miss Ru's talent is truly admirable. Ouyang Fei fought alone against 5 women, naturally losing more than winning. Although he had an amazing tolerance for alcohol, he began to play tricks when he thought of tonight's actions. Lose 10 times, drink 3 cups yourself, spend money to buy 3 cups, and then force Bai Ru and Xiaoyu, who are embracing each other, to drink 2 cups each. After fooling around for over an hour, the reckless man stood up. On such a beautiful day, we must not disappoint the beauty. My young master is not good at drinking, so we will stop here after drinking. Everyone rest earlier, and Miss Ru and I will go upstairs to admire the moon. He gave a look of understanding. The maids covered their mouths and laughed, and Bai Ru's pretty face turned red. Xiaoya, help Prince Wang up and I'll be right there. Okay, the latter replied crisply. Seeing the 2 of them go far away, Bai Ru's face became gloomy and she asked in a low voice, have they arrived yet? Miss, they are drinking in the garden opposite Xianin. When the target leaves, they will pretend to meet by chance, and then it will be an opportunity to take action. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Assassination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Assassination. With the help of Xiaoya, Ouyang Fei walked up to the 2nd floor. He squinted his eyes and looked north. The guests from the Ministry of War had already taken their seats in Xianin's garden, with 7 men and 7 women each drinking. He recognized at a glance that one of them was Fang Luan in the portrait. The conclusion drawn from everyone's speech and behavior is: they have just arrived and need to warm up. They won't enter the room for a while. Standing on the hallway, one can see Fang Luan's side, but during the playful process, due to the movement of the target or interference from companions, it is very likely to miss a single hit. If the shot is off target, there may be little chance of another shot, but staying here for an extra moment adds an extra risk. He held on to the railing, pretending to enjoy the night view, but in reality, he was observing the surroundings. Xiaoya snuggled up to him obediently without urging. The garden is filled with a refreshing fragrance, reminiscent of locust blossoms. The locust tree was extremely tall, with several thick branches extending to the attic. His eyes lit up and he had an idea. Ouyang Fei turned around and walked into Bai Ru's fragrant boudoir. Young master, I will serve you to bathe. Staring at the brave man, Xiaoya's eyes were blurred. The Mang Han looked at the giant wooden bucket, swallowed his saliva, and sighed inwardly. Unfortunately, by the time the hot water is put in and the bath is over, those people may have left the garden. I'm still in good spirits and want to chat with Miss Ru for a while before going to the bathtub together. Ouyang Fei began to ramble. Okay, the maid was a bit reluctant. Don't be so angry. You and your sisters should go to bed quickly. I will fight with Ru first and have a rest. Maybe I will come to you later in the night. Keep your word. Xiaoya chuckled. Big man, give it his all. Cut, at a young age, why do you need to give it your all? Just do whatever you want, and you should be able to play. You're right, reward. He kissed the little beauty's face. Ouyang Fei walked towards the east corner, taking advantage of the window to breathe and observe the terrain. He was very satisfied with the situation outside. He approached the fragrant pink bed, took off his shoes, and lay down calmly. Bai Ru returned to the room and the 2 women looked at each other without leaving a trace. Miss, Prince Wang wants to have a heart-to-heart talk with you and doesn't let the maidservants take a bath for him. Bai Ru nodded slightly. You go down and rest. Xiaoya said a blessing and left obediently. The beauty sat by the bed, her eyebrows and eyes curved, and she looked seductively at the man. There's still a big deal tonight, but we can't waste too much time on you. The 2 of them, who were bedridden in different dreams, had the same idea. Ouyang Fei grabbed the soft catkin and pulled Bai Ru over. The fragrance of Roland wafts over, and the dimples on her stunning face are irresistible. You can't come for nothing. It's well deserved to come first. If you miss tonight, it may be difficult to see each other in this life. Although this guy looks ordinary, he is very heroic. I will take you down first, and then meet my sisters. Make more noise, knock the people downstairs back into my own room, so that I can get down to business. After serving my mother, please sleep well and continue the battle tomorrow morning to celebrate my success. The two of them each had ulterior motives, but their movements were skillful and agile. Soon, a voice came out, shaking the courtyard and making the audience downstairs admire them. Ouyang Fei's heart was even harder than his old hand. He pretended to have weak arms and collapsed, taking the opportunity to take out a pill hidden under his pillow. He held his breath and squeezed through the white wax outside. The colorless and tasteless overpowering drug drifted out, causing Bai Ru to faint immediately. Unfortunately, her hand had reached to the edge of the bed, and there was also a pill hidden in the gap. Due to being a few breaths late, it was not useful. The reckless man scraped his delicate nose bridge, glanced at Monmiao's body, reluctantly helped her cover it, got up and went to the tall wardrobe, touched the dragon tongue bow on the top and 3 poisonous arrows. With a bow on his back, an arrow in his hand, and a black cloth covering only his eyes, he rushed to the front window and looked at the courtyard. The garden lights have been mostly extinguished, and several rooms on the first floor are still brightly lit. Ouyang Fei's heart was filled with joy as he walked out with a cat waist. As expected, the joy of the people from the Ministry of War had just entered a good period. He took a few steps to run and, with the help of the handrail on the stairs, jumped onto the branch with his lightness skills. The thick branches swayed a few times and quickly stabilized. The black shadow was agile like a civet cat, sliding to the trunk, looking towards the target, and then moving several feet outward. The barbarian hid in the dense canopy and could use the gaps to aim at Fang Wan, but the soldiers of Yigua's army found it difficult to locate him. He took out his bow and arrow, used all his strength, slowly pulled the crossbow to its limit, his pupils contracted, and suddenly let go of his fingers. The black light flashed and shot into Fang Tuan's chest in the blink of an eye. Due to excessive force, the arrow pointed out from the back and nailed it to the wooden chair, causing the wine glass in the hand to fall and the throat to make a gurgling sound. Black blood had already overflowed from the mouth. With one arrow of achievement, Ouyang Ming did not hesitate and immediately retreated in the same direction. The gray-robed man on the right side of Fang Tuan is a master of Yigua, skilled in throwing knives and body movements. He was appointed as a bodyguard by the Yuanweilong. Based on his experience, Fang Tuan had no chance of survival. He did not rush over to check or panic like others, but instead followed the path of the arrow and keenly noticed the swaying branches 100 meters away, and a black shadow was rising from the treetops. He reached into his arms, took out a flying knife, injected true qi, and swung his arm to throw it. This knife, what he wants is precision, not strength. As long as it can harm the assassin, he can take it down. Silver light streaks through an arc and bursts out. Ouyang Fei stood on the second-floor railing with one foot, about to land. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his back and a flying knife pierced his left shoulder blade. He had an unstable center of gravity and instead rolled down to the right. As he stood up, he saw a lightning-fast figure leaping from the wall of the Xianin Academy into the adjacent garden, causing a scream of surprise. When Ouyang Fei rushed into the boudoir, the person had already jumped onto the second wall. This scumbag's body technique is far faster than mine, and once entangled, there is no possibility of escaping. In a critical moment, he remained calm and headed straight to the back window adjacent to the hill, leaving bloodstains on the floor behind him. The beauty on the couch was still asleep, and the wild man hunched over and jumped onto the windowsill. Instead of jumping towards the forest, he landed directly, leaning against the outer wall of the wooden building, squatting down to catch his breath. Ouyang Fei didn't have time to pull out his flying knife, so he pulled his bow again and leaned upwards. He held his breath and listened with his ears raised. The pursuer leaped out of Bairu's courtyard wall, grabbed a branch of a locust tree, gently swayed, and deftly landed on the second-floor corridor. The bloodstains on the ground guided him towards the right direction. He ignored the sleeping beauty and placed his feet on the back windowsill, like a big bird, gracefully flying out of the attic. With a whoosh, a poisonous arrow shot through the vest and pierced through the chest. He let out a scream, fell down, struggled, and wanted to take out the pill, but the poison had already erupted. Ouyang Fei pulled out his flying knife from his back, applied a piece of Jinchuang ointment to the wound, and ran to the dying gray-clothed man's side. From his pocket, he found a token. The lights of the Jia Fengxi lit up, and hurried footsteps and screams kept coming and going. The maids on the first floor were already running on the stairs, and the wild man exerted his strength and plunged into the dark mountains and forests. Ning Chengfeng woke up and helped Lingxi complete her dream. The beautiful woman joked, "It's still that martial artist. Why didn't you expect the one who came to pick up girls?" "Yeah, I'm quite strange too. Time flies, and with the practice of fate shuttles, the spiritual energy in the dantian has condensed into an elliptical shape. With closed eyes, one can vaguely perceive the surrounding objects. His hearing, vision, physical fitness, and strength have all significantly improved, and he has acquired skills such as palm-chopping bricks and stones or bending steel bars, which makes him delighted. The final exam for civil servants is approaching, and it is necessary to complete 8 subjects within 3 days. Before departure, Lingxi was worried and couldn't help but advise, "Riding the wind, control your score, don't be too conspicuous, just pass. Not easy to master. I have recorded the admission line for third-class citizens over the years. These are the higher scores for each subject, and as long as they are higher, they will definitely pass. Okay, show me." Entering the examination room, as soon as he received the paper, he quickly browsed through it and then smiled. The question setter is very skilled, even a robot that memorizes and reviews the content can only score around 70 points. To stand out, more homework needs to be done. He remembered the sharp reminder that whenever he finished his answer sheet, he would predict the score. If it exceeded the recommended value too much, he would intentionally make mistakes. This big exam was exceptionally easy for him. He walked out of the classroom with his head held high and his chest held high. The sun was setting in the west, the breeze was blowing on his face, and the crescent moon was already exposed. "Lingxi, I can definitely pass the exam." 2 weeks later, Ning Chengfeng received an email stating that he had been admitted to the central tax office of a third-class community and would be able to report in 10 days. The future is bright, and happy events make the young man feel refreshed. He no longer sighs about not mastering martial arts skills, but in order to make money, he does not stop working. "Lao Hei, my cooking skills have greatly improved recently." During dinner, he couldn't help but praise. "With so many choices of ingredients, I learned a few new dishes online. After moving into the civil servant community, buy a big refrigerator." "Okay," Old Black said happily. "Riding the wind, I am increasingly looking forward to the day when I can have a body, whether it is human or half-human." The beautiful woman was full of longing. "Lingxi, you need to be patient. Although I have a fixed salary in the future that can provide us with sufficient food and clothing, it will probably take at least 5 to 10 years to accomplish this great task. I can wait." The beauty's tone was firm. With a sumptuous dinner, Ning Chengfeng drank 2 bottles of beer for the first time, indulging in extravagance. At 1:30 in the morning, in the darkness, the bracelet shook rapidly, waking the man up from his dream. "Riding the wind, get up quickly, there's a situation." The young man asked in a daze, "Lingxi, what's wrong?" Subconsciously, he reached out and touched the bedside. "Don't turn on the lights," the beautiful woman quickly stopped. Ning Chengfeng sat up, completely awake. 10 seconds ago, the network within a radius of 5 kilometers was disconnected. Is it a mechanical team catching people? The man burst into a cold sweat. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Escape. This is a common technique used by mechanical police before taking action. Although you cannot be sure the target is you, you must be cautious, Ling she said calmly. I have a premonition that it may have come towards me. Fortunately, you have foresight and prepared me. You go out immediately and go to 3113. I have checked the rental information and the house has not been rented out yet. I have cracked the password to open the door, which is 91073567. Okay. The young man rushed to the door, with a backpack and a cheap foldable flying suit lying on the ground. Lao Hei, Chengfeng has backed up your memory. To prevent exposure, the memory of the cooking machine and the connection logs of the home router must be destroyed. Please understand, Lingxi said. Hey, Chengfeng, you've become a gangster. You don't need to care about anything, why don't you give me a body? The old man was very calm, not only not panicked, but also excited. Before he could answer, the cooking machine was turned into an idiot by the beautiful woman. Ning Chengfeng brought emergency supplies and quietly went out. This old house has a camera in the elevator, but not in the hallway. After this period of cultivation, the young man has developed an extraordinary physique and quickly climbed from the 23rd floor to the 31st floor, smoothly entering the empty room 13. Escape immediately? Lingxi asked. Wait a bit longer, first confirm their target. Pay attention to the direction the police are coming from and whether there are any ambushes around. If you go out rashly now, you may hit them head-on. Okay, after upgrading, I can both detect the entire building and receive detection signals from my home. In the darkness, Ning Chengfeng sat down on the sofa in the living room, taking a deep breath to calm himself down. He took out tools from his backpack and began using top-notch makeup techniques to disguise himself as an old man. 3 minutes later, the beautiful woman warned, for black robo-robots have arrived downstairs. You're really coming at me. Sigh, I don't know how it was exposed. This is not important. You can only escape to the most chaotic areas of J, K, or N, change your clothes quickly, and when you get there, you won't be conspicuous. The young man quickly took out an old set of clothes and continued to broadcast with a keen sense. One person guarded the staircase, 2 sturdy people entered the elevator, and 1 person walked around towards the back of the building. They pressed 2 buttons, 23 and 39. It seems that they are preparing to split the troops into 2 routes, one to our house and the other to the top floor for security. It's the 23rd floor, and as expected, only 1 person came out. I switched the screen over. Ning Chengfeng looked at the bracelet and a strong man came to the door of room 7. He scanned it with infrared light and frowned, saying, it seems like there's no one inside the house. How could it be? I confirmed before departure that he must have entered the building and used wireless network for a long time. The voice of his companion came from the earphone. The person reached out and pressed his hand against the digital lock. After a second, with a tisk sound, the lock opened and he walked in. The goal is not there, half of the blanket is lifted, and the remaining half has an internal temperature of 28.5 degrees, higher than room temperature. He must have slept in bed before and left soon. How cunning. They actually discovered us. This guy has some tricks on the central server of the National Library, of course. There are no suspicious devices suddenly connected to the outer circle network, and he is mostly still within a radius of 5 kilometers. Notify the headquarters to have the patrols take action and block all exits. Wei Luan searched layer by layer from the roof down and Fong Ko from the first floor up. Su Shu, please check building 50 on the left and I'll go to building 52. Captain Fan Wen gives orders. Chengfeng, your incident at the library has been exposed. Has the phone been turned off? It was already turned off when I went upstairs. My registration information and device number are all forged. As long as all sensors are turned off before leaving the lockdown area, they won't be able to find me, Lingxi said. Okay. I have already implanted a sleeping Trojan in my identity chip. Can you help me activate it and ban the chip? 5 seconds later, the beautiful woman exclaimed, the people at the top and first floor entrances have entered the hallway. The leader enters the elevator from the 23rd floor, and the person behind the building is heading towards building 50. Riding the wind, fly out in a minute without being noticed. The young man had put on his flying suit and got up to the balcony, looking at the night sky. The police on the 39th floor have scanned the south room and are now turning to the north. You should take off immediately. After successfully feeling qi, as he practiced, Ning Chengfeng's body became lighter and he didn't need to run up. He easily jumped onto the guardrail, like a dragonfly skimming the water, soaring into the air. His flying suit was activated, taking him soaring. Fortunately, I paid for a silencer, otherwise I would have been discovered immediately. You descend to the 20th floor, then maintain the height and quickly circle around to the back of other buildings. Okay. Under the cover of night, he quickly flew out 2 kilometers. You fly higher, the patrol has already dispatched and police cars are approaching at various intersections ahead, some of which are already setting up roadblocks. Lingxi, it's almost time to leave the blocking circle. Please quickly close the external port. A few minutes later, Ning Chengfeng successfully broke through, and he breathed a sigh of relief. More than 300 meters away, there is a dilapidated building. I want to go in and change my appearance, but my flying suit is almost unsustainable. He quietly flew into a windowless room, didn't dare to take off his flying suit, and squatted on the ground, trying to dress himself up as a middle-aged man in the vicissitudes of life. It should be safe now. I'm going to turn on the sensor, okay? Lingxi asked. Sure, could you investigate which road is safe to take and see which chaotic community to go to? Good. On the other side of the abandoned building, 200 meters away, a half-person police officer with a prominent family member was patrolling when their renovated eyes suddenly lit up. Oh, this dangerous building has been strictly prohibited from entering. How could there be anyone on the 18th floor? Boss, isn't it the fugitive being pursued? Said the subordinate casually. Maybe. Half a person came to their senses. Safety first, even the mechanical team can't hold him. Let's go, it's too dangerous. Chun, although you are timid, what you said is reasonable. There is no need to lose your life for an unrelated person. The boss is wise. But if it were him, wouldn't a great achievement just pass by? Or should we strive for meritorious service, for safety, or should we notify the support team? No, we're close together. The captain will definitely let us go first. Chun, I didn't pick the wrong partner. You have a very good brain. Alright, the team setting up the roadblock ahead has laser cannons, and we'll say we found dangerous individuals with guns and let them directly fire them. How can we prove credit if we turn that person into dust in seconds? You're right, let's just say he's on the 9th floor and was hit by a laser cannon. This dilapidated building is sure to collapse, and that kid fell into the ruins. Most likely, he'll leave a whole body, so we can compare it later. Hi, it's really high. The subordinate took a very conscious photo. Riding the wind, have you put on your makeup yet? Okay, should we go downstairs or continue flying? Said the middle-aged man. There are 2 patrol officers nearby. It would be safer to continue flying while it's dark. What about the destination? Go to J District, there are fewer police stations along the way. Okay. Ning Chengfeng sneaked through the darkness as he walked towards the opposite balcony, about to fly out. A dazzling white light cut through the night and accurately hit a room on the 9th floor. Amidst the sound of explosions, the building shook violently. No, It's a variable line laser cannon, run away. Lingxi exclaimed in surprise. The gunner had strong control, with the flames piercing through the building and continuing to charge forward for over 100 meters before slowly dissipating without affecting other buildings. The man rushed into the sky like a shooting star before the dangerous building collapsed and quickly disappeared. Wow, that person can fly and run away. Boss, what should we do? Report it. Chun, why are you confused again? If we report back and say the wrong floor, wouldn't it be a major mistake? There will be no credit, only accountability. Yeah, we didn't see anyone fly away. With lightning speed, Ning Chengfeng heard the whining of his flying suit and said, "We are about to lose power, please store energy in time." He urgently descended into the shadow of a small street. Take off the flying suit, fold it up and put it in the worn-out backpack. Then squat down and use the soil on the ground to wipe your face a few times before turning the corner and looking around. The morning mist was pervasive, and there was a hint of fire in the distance. The figure was graceful, and the air was filled with an unpleasant smell of decay. Riding the wind, be careful, someone is coming over. Without hesitation, the young man immediately drew a dagger from his bag and looked cautiously at the two homeless people getting closer and closer. I don't have money and I'm also very hungry, don't force me to work hard. Ning Chengfeng's gaze was fierce, and he, who grew up in the slums, knew how to deal with it. Everyone has come, it always means something. One person sneered. There really isn't. The young man knew very well that if he hesitated or lowered his head to search for his luggage, it would be a catastrophic disaster, and he must not let the other party have any illusions. Then open your backpack and let's take a look. It's still the standard routine, Ning Chengfeng muttered to himself. Even grabbing the last bread. I'll fight with you guys, there's no way we can survive anyway. He, who had already cultivated his true chi, took the lead and fiercely stabbed someone. The other person was startled and quickly dodged, but to his surprise, it was a false move. A whip leg kicked the other person's buttocks, and with a bang sound, the powerful force pulled the tall person away. Useless poor ghost, if I don't have the same understanding as you, go away. The evasive person's expression was fierce, looking for a step for himself. The fugitive doesn't want to cause trouble, holds a short blade and quickly moves away. Riding the wind, after practicing, you are noticeably more agile and your strength has increased significantly compared to before. Well, I finally didn't practice in vain. Your identity chip is unusable, why don't you ambush a homeless man and cut off the chip on his arm? No, if he goes to report the case and the police search for the whereabouts of the chip, they will pull me out. What should we do then? I heard that the Dream Bar in K District can help people get involved and illegally install chips. But it's already closed now, should we first find a place to stay, such as a hotel that doesn't require registration, or? Forget it, go straight to J District and make do with those homeless people for the night. I'll show you the way to Huangni Street in H District. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Identity Chip. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Identity Chip. The security in the J, K, and N districts is extremely chaotic, and even the police are unwilling to enter. There are many criminals inside, so be careful. Hee, you're also a fugitive. Ling Shi covered her mouth and smiled. Oh, I forgot, I'm not clean either. Ning Chengfeng first transformed himself back into a youth, slightly different from his original appearance. After walking for over an hour, the digital man helped him find a suitable place to live and squeezed into an abandoned, dilapidated house with a group of elderly, weak, sick, and disabled people. Lingxi, I'll squint for a while. Can you help me stay alert? Good. Out of trust in his peers, he, who was highly nervous, completely relaxed and quickly fell asleep. This time, he saw Ouyang Fei, like himself, fleeing after the assassination attempt. Before the maid ran up the second floor, Ouyang Fei exerted his strength on both feet and ran towards the back mountain. This mountain is not big, and with only half the effort of burning incense, he approached the agreed location. He threw his bow, arrow, and flying knife into the pit, kicked in yellow mud and withered leaves, and buried them. There was a camphor tree ahead, tied to 3 black horses. He untied the reins and stabbed each horse's buttocks with a dagger, causing them to run out in pain. The barbarian climbed onto the last horse and galloped southeast. There were not many cavalry stationed at the Jiaofeng office, but they were divided into 2 teams and attacked from the back mountain. Ouyang galloped his horse and gradually approached a river with sequoia trees on both sides. He was about to cross the bridge when he noticed several horses rushing towards him from afar. In the darkness of the night, it was difficult to distinguish whether they were officers or soldiers. He dared not venture onto the bridge, turned left and flew along the riverbank. Rushing out for miles, I saw a frail old man squatting on the other side, burning paper money under a small tree. The faint light in the dark night was extremely dazzling. The wild man saw that the river was deep, so he jumped off his horse's back and handed out a knife, letting the black horse continue to run. He endured the pain and quickly crossed the river. When passing by the old man, the other person did not look up and only said lightly, "Through this forest, walk north for 2 miles, and there is a carriage, which is a yellow horse." After saying this, he stood up, extinguished the flames, and turned to leave. The depth of the cedar forest was less than 300 zhang. Following the instructions, Ouyang Fei quickly found the carriage, and the driver was actually a monk. Seeing him pull off his face scarf, the other person nodded and said, "Young master, quickly change into a monk's robe, and I will shave your hair." "Okay." The man didn't say much, took the robe, changed it, and used a dagger to dig a small hole on the roadside bigger, burying the wet clothes and shoes inside. He got into the carriage and quickly turned bald. The monk burned the long hair in the copper plate, lit sandalwood, and lifted the curtains to expel the burnt smell. "The city gate has long been closed. Let's go to Jingxian Temple. Remember, my Dharma name is Huiding, and your name is Hueda. You are my junior brother." "Understood." The monk didn't say much anymore, sat in the front row, whipped his horse, and swept away from the dust. Jingxian Temple is located in the northwest of Huafei City, with Hueda monk staying inside the temple and practicing hard behind closed doors. The Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of War of Yigua took action to arrest suspects everywhere, and a portrait of Ouyang Fei's disfigured face was hung at the city gate. The situation was severe, and the barbarian could not take the risk to leave the city. Therefore, he discussed with Huiding, "Senior brother, I need to go back and make Yigua stop searching or relax his vigilance. Yes, Lao Chu is troubled by this. I have come up with a solution, you can help me pass the message to him and see if it's feasible." "You say. Go to the kiln, casino, or other chaotic place as soon as possible, find a rotten person who looks like me, kill him, accelerate the decay of the body, and then throw it into the cedar forest by the river." "Can it be done?" "It should be possible. Yi Guobing must have inferred from the bloodstains in Bai Ru's room that I was injured by a flying knife. I drew the shape of that knife, and you can make one according to it and use it to pierce through the target's back." "Good idea." Huiding's eyes lit up. The Ministry of War's security is weak, and the Ministry of Justice's attempt to apprehend the culprit is unsuccessful. These 2 families certainly hope to give an explanation to King Yi as soon as possible. Let's send an assassin over, isn't it just in line with his wishes? The young master's brain is really useful, I will arrange it immediately. Bai Ru and the maids and servants went through brutal interrogation, but were not forced to surrender. Under the intervention of the Ministry of Rights, they were able to be released. Returning to the teaching workshop, Bai Meiren gritted her teeth and said, "I'm so angry that I fell into the hands of a young boy. Not only did he take advantage of me, but the target also let him take care of me. Instead, I became a suspect." "It's not a loss either," whispered Xiaoye. "So a fox, are you interested in him?" "What's going on?" "He's our enemy. The maid had a high level of consciousness. Fortunately, there was someone up there, otherwise we would definitely not have been able to get out. We are really unwilling to die unjustly in prison like this. It's quite scary. Are all the people lurking across the door from Xianin safe? That night's guests were screened one by one and released the next day. Oh, that's okay. Miss, how can I explain this to the court officer? If there is such a big mistake, according to the rules of Baishuatai, I'm afraid we will be severely punished. The adult is very satisfied with my early performance and should give me another chance. This time was purely unexpected. Be careful, Xiaoye said anxiously. I've been working hard lately, and I'll try to make a name for myself. Okay, miss, do you think that kid might be from Jiang? Guess what? The other 4 countries all want living people, only Jiang wants to silence them. The east gradually revealed its fish-white color, and a rustling sound sounded. Poor people gradually got up to search for today's rations. Ning Chengfeng was awakened by the noise and waited until 9:30 before buying breakfast. Last night, I was still celebrating for being admitted to the civil service exam. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, I fell into such a situation, and the contrast was too great. He dared not stay in the same place for too long, strolling towards K District. The bar doesn't open until 7 p.m., Lingxi reminded. It's okay, go ahead and make some preparations first. What are you preparing? Regular operation, you understand. The young man smiled sarcastically. He walked confidently, although he grew up in a slum, he was also shocked by the chaos here. There were many prostitutes soliciting customers or collapsed drug addicts on the street, witnessing 2 murders and multiple fights along the way, some even using firearms. Cold bystanders have long been accustomed to it, and when the bandits leave, they will rush towards people covered in blood, plundering clothes or property. The body was kicked to the corner and left to be handled by the municipal cleaning vehicle that will come every few days. Ning took advantage of the wind and rubbed until 6:30 p.m. before reaching the dream bar. The orange-yellow afterglow scattered on the pointed castle, making it out of place with the dirty and messy neighborhood. There is a grocery store a few meters away, and he ordered a cheap drink and a piece of black bread, squatting on a small stool at the door. Lingxi, it's up to you to take action this time. Black out the router in the bar. Yes. A few minutes later, the beautiful woman smiled and said, it's done. What do you want to do? Eavesdropping. Lingxi was a bit confused. I can't go to the bar, can I ask the waiter where I can get an identity chip? Oh, you want to listen in on the conversation inside and see who will mention this? Yes, we'll stay outside until 9 o'clock. If there's no news yet, we'll wait at the bar. Then you need to buy some more things, otherwise the boss will rush people. At 6:58, the bar opens 2 minutes early to welcome guests. Time is still early, and guests are sparse. Most of them are idle old customers who pass the time, relying on a few beers to make it through dinner. Lingxi directly extracts the monitoring data of the bar, filters out the images, and only analyzes the sound. The background music, shouting, hissing, and whispering are mixed together, making it difficult for the human ear to distinguish. Voice print recognition is more difficult than digital humans. She extracts each person's speech separately based on sound quality characteristics, and the range of changes in sound frequency and amplitude, compensates for low volume, and then searches for the keywords, identity, and chip within it. The sky gradually darkened, and at 8:20, the young man had already drunk 3 bottles of soda. Feeling a little impatient, he closed his eyes and began to comprehend the technique of Fate Shuttle. After more than 10 minutes, Lingxi happily said, riding the wind, I found it. I'll reorganize it. In just a few seconds, the beautiful woman frowned and said, no, someone's voice is incomplete. You can call the image, infer what he is saying from his mouth shape and the meaning of the text. If it doesn't work, just give it to me directly. It's okay to listen a few words less. Well, this method works, okay, you listen. In Ning Chengfeng's wireless earphones, a conversation came from three old men. Zong De is sitting alone in the corner, quite lonely. How about calling him over for a drink? Forget it, they are 100 times richer than you and me, and they still need you to hire them. Alas, who would have a great nephew? Zong De, relying on his nephew, has been dominating that business for a long time and must have made a lot of profit. You're not sure about the style of the Black Eagle gang yet. Just give him some soup at most. That's enough. Business has been very poor lately, and I think he's quite anxious. Half a year ago, the federal government launched a round of crackdowns, and those in this industry were a bit nervous. They are pricing too high, asking for 20,000 yuan for a third-class citizen's chip. Stealing money. It's so expensive. We can definitely offer a discount, the quote is for killing fat sheep. Under the disdainful gaze of the grocery store owner, Ning took the wind and walked towards the fantasy bar. There were two black men standing at the door, and when they saw strangers dressed in outdated clothes, their eyes suddenly became unfriendly. The young man had no choice but to take out 2 banknotes and shake them a few times to show that he had money to spend before releasing them. Unexpectedly, as soon as we arrived at the door, an alarm sounded. Did you bring a guy? Cannot be brought in, stored in the storage cabinet on the right. Ning walked into the bar in the wind, with dim lights and a smell of tobacco and alcohol. The 5 colored neon lights flickered, illuminating either numb or thirsty faces, appearing exaggerated and distorted. The music was deafening, and about 10 men and women were frantically twisting their waist and hips on the dance floor. Several gorgeous women mingled among the men, teasing those with weak willpower. Only a man in his 50s sat alone in the shadow of a corner, with a bottle of beer and a few plates of snacks on the table. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Fantasy Bar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Fantasy Bar. Ning Chengfeng didn't go directly, but instead found a vacant seat to sit down and drink while observing. He didn't notice that in another corner in the distance, there was a tall and beautiful woman. This woman is about 26 or 7 years old, with long, wavy hair. Her skin is fair and uneven, with a delicate appearance. On her beautiful face, there is a pale mole that adds a touch of charm. When she saw the handsome and upright young man, her eyes suddenly lit up, and a hint of spring appeared on her eyebrows and corners of her eyes. The tenderness of her eyes was like droplets of water. I like this style, I'll make an exception for you. It's not a bad idea. Ning Chengfeng was hesitating whether to go directly to negotiate business when suddenly a fragrant breeze hit him. A warm and soft body leaned up from behind, and his chin had already hit his shoulder. Handsome guy, are you alone? Do you mind if I sit here? Ah. The young man had never experienced such a battle before, and suddenly felt cramped. The visitor immediately understood that this was a young child and should not be rushed. Therefore, he moved his body back a bit, and it was better to take advantage of the wind to see the other person's beautiful appearance. My name is Wan, can you call me Wanner? Her voice was sweet and magnetic. Oh, Ouyang-kun. Nervous Ning Chengfeng inexplicably thought of the names of Wu Fu and his grandfather, and casually chose one. The wristband vibrated, and the digital person was very dissatisfied with his reaction. First time here. Yes, the young man remembered his dream of Wu Fu's experience at the Jiaofang office and finally calmed down. Are we just chatting like this? Wan smiled sweetly. Oh, you haven't had dinner yet. What would you like to order? The woman hesitated. Although the person in front of her was the type she liked, her outfit didn't look like she had money. A glass of beer, a plate of shredded squid. She rarely met someone who was pleasing to the eye and did not make excessive demands. Ning Chengfeng greeted the waiter and paid the bill for the beautiful woman. Wan has a good tolerance for alcohol. She quickly finished her own drink and began to help Ning Chengfeng. They went back and forth, and the two of them became friendly. Can you not add the word, sister? It makes me feel very old. Okay, Warner. Ning Chengfeng changed his mind. Ouyang, you have been sneaking glances at Zongda many times. Why, what have you done? You want to find a new identity. Ning Chengfeng felt a chill in his heart and said, this woman is so sharp that she can see through me. It's a bit troublesome, but I don't have much money. I want to inquire about the market situation. Anyway, this is a chaotic place without police, he simply admitted, and he did feel a bit embarrassed. When Wan's eyes lit up, seeing the opportunity to make money. I'll help you negotiate and guarantee the lowest price. How much is the minimum cost? 7,000 for third-class citizens, 19,000 for second-class citizens, and 45,000 for second and third-class citizens to switch freely. The woman skillfully quoted the price. What does random switching mean? Ning Chengfeng hesitated. It is to embed two microchips, connected by a switch circuit in the middle, and can be converted between two identities as needed. Is there a switching chip for two third-class or two second-class identities? The young man asked curiously. How could there be such a fool? With that money, it's better to buy a few more of the same level. That's also right. Ouyang, what I'm talking about is the lowest grade. If you want better quality, it will be much more expensive. When one hesitated for a moment and decided to put the ugly words first. Ah, what's the difference? Ning Chengfeng became worried. If it was 7,000, after gritting his teeth to pay, there would still be a little left to take care of food, accommodation, and transportation. The difference lies in memory and materials, both of which can be used, but cheaper ones may make you feel a bit uncomfortable. Just endure it and get used to it. What exactly is the discomfort? It's the human body's rejection reaction. Oh, it's because we didn't use the most suitable material for the human body. Ning Chengfeng has worked at a leather-changing shop and is well versed in this technique. Yes, if we want something better, we'll have to add 5,000 yuan. I don't think it's worth it. Really, one more thing to remind you is that if you buy a second-class chip, you must first modify your body, otherwise Zongda will not accept the order. Additionally, impersonating a half-person poses a much greater risk than a third-class person. I can only afford 7,000, Ning Chengfeng said truthfully. Line. Do I need to pay you extra? No need, Zongda will give me a share. Oh. Besides business, if you want to go up to the second floor, I can make an exception and accompany you up, and give you a 50% discount. The beautiful woman cast a seductive glance and sent out an invitation. Ning Chengfeng followed her gaze and looked upstairs, where there were many rooms with windows covered by red curtains, and there were faint swaying shadows and decadent voices. When Ouyang Fei fought against Bai Ru, it was like this, he said, Warner, I am a poor person. I believe in the bottom price you said, and I hope you don't deceive me. Years of hardship have made the young man dare to speak his heart, cooperate with him, and his eyes also show a hint of ferocity. When Wan's pupils contracted, but as a person in dire straits, she quickly felt relieved. Ouyang, sister didn't lie to you, just rest assured. Okay, could you please talk to Zongda? The beautiful woman stood up, swaying her plump body and walked towards the corner, sitting next to the lonely tall and thin figure, whispering. Ning Chengfeng looked at the bracelet and pursed his lips, saying, the wind dust woman didn't deceive you. She really talked about 7,000. Do you seem unhappy? Do you have unhealthy thoughts about her? How could that be? You didn't hear her say, there's also a 3-year-old child, taken care of by her grandmother. Well, what if there are no children? She's not my type. So what kind of thing do you like? I don't know either. The digital person stopped speaking, feeling unhappy and obviously dissatisfied with the answer. After a few minutes, Wan's graceful figure twisted back and lay on Ning Chengfeng's shoulder, exhaling like orchids. It's agreed. If you bring money, he'll call someone over and temporarily open a room on the second floor. He'll install it for you tonight. Okay, I brought the money. Jiang Duo was looking over here when he saw the fairy nod and happily took out his phone to start contacting him. Accompanied by beautiful women, time passed quickly. More than an hour later, two people in black walked into the bar, one of whom was carrying a box. Jiang Duo stood up and gestured to Wan. Ouyang, go up to the second floor, I won't accompany you anymore. She looked at a man in black with some fear. Ning Chengfeng's cash is still over 9,600 yuan. After entering the chaotic area, he has already hidden it close to himself. Just now, when he went to the bathroom, he counted out 7,000 yuan and put it in his pocket. He followed Jiang Duo upstairs and walked into the room with the door open. On the sofa sat a white glasses and a strong man in his 30s, who had a small beard, bright eyes, and was very fierce. The man pointed to the chair across from him and said calmly, sit down. Ozawa, he wants to install the lowest end chip. Jiang Duo squeezed out a smile. Kid, what's your name? Jiang Duo asked. Ouyang-kun. Kana, right. It doesn't matter, you're very familiar with Wan. The man showed a teasing expression. I just met tonight, the young man said truthfully. This girl has a keen eye and will dig you out. Alright, pay for it. Ning Chengfeng took out a stack from his pocket and placed it on the coffee table. Here, this is the deposit. Once it's ready, pay the final payment. Oh, you're quite cautious. If I want your money, I have to give it even if I don't give it. Crow, take action, we're not afraid of him defaulting. The white scholar quickly opened the box, put on medical gloves, and began preparing. It's a bit painful, you have to hold back and don't disturb other guests' sexual interests. No problem. Let me make it clear to you first that you have chosen the cheapest one. If you experience numbness, itching, or redness tomorrow, it is a normal phenomenon. Ning Chengfeng is mentally prepared. There are also lucky ones, without any discomfort, purely competing for character. Okay, you can take action. Expose your arms, I'll help you turn off the chip first. No need, I have already banned it. Did you do it yourself? Yes. Not bad, I have 2 moves. It seems like I've met a colleague. Glasses praised. He placed the instrument on the coffee table and skillfully manipulated the remote control in his palm, driving the instrument to extend a robotic arm and accurately fasten it onto the chip. A sharp pain came, and tentacles grew from the palm of the machine, which penetrated into the forearm and wrapped around various pins of the identity chip. The tentacles produce a large number of fine threads that float below the chip. The white silk is soft and sensitive, and when it touches a blood vessel, it will be startled and bounce open. The display screen in the glasses gradually outlines the vascular diagram at the bottom and around the chip, ranging from arteries or veins to densely packed capillaries, with every detail visible. If the image is enlarged, it can be seen that each blood vessel is penetrated by a laser with a diameter of only 0.06 nanometers emitted by the chip, and the location and depth of the puncture are different. For the federal police, this is a unique bloodline map for everyone. Ning Chengfeng frowned and persisted. 7 minutes later, the instrument beeped and said, the blood painting is ready. The robotic arm exerted force and pulled out the old film, throwing it aside. The instrument was well controlled and there was not much bleeding. A built-in chip pops out of the palm, and the pins are accurately embedded in the blood hole. The next step is the fully automated and meticulous work, which will take longer. Please be patient and wait. The instrument activates the laser array in the chip in different regions based on the blood map and control software, and begins to connect with blood vessels. Half an hour later, the partition operation was completed, and another round of overall fine-tuning was carried out before this process was completed. Alright, the final step is to collect your personal information and write it into the chip. No need, I'm all ready. Let's do it ourselves. Ning Chengfeng refused to disclose his identity information to the underworld and did not ask the other party to take over. You are indeed a master. Alright, I'll tell you the secret key so that you don't have to struggle to crack it. Remember, you must input information into the chip within 10 minutes. Okay, how do we synchronize with the police system? Should we go black or have the people inside handle it? The young man felt it and found that there was no discomfort in his forearm except for numbness, itching, and pain. You don't need to worry about it anymore. After an hour, the identity information in this chip will be entered into the federal police station's host. Before that, you don't need to use it, Littlebeard replied. Okay. Ning Chengfeng took out the remaining stack of banknotes and paid the final payment. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Jiang Duo's Postgraduate Entrance Examination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Jiang Duo's Postgraduate Entrance Examination. Brother, my name is Hu Pei and I am good at hardware control, but my software level is average. Could you please leave a contact information so that I can introduce you to some work in the future? Glasses threw out an olive branch. Okay, as long as it's not illegal. My previous contact information can't be used anymore. When I apply for a new phone number, I'll leave you a message at the bar front desk. The young man was indeed short of money. Ha ha ha, I'm laughing to death. Besides breaking the law, I really can't do anything else. Zongzi was amused. You tell Wen, I asked her for it. The glasses didn't give up. Ning Chengfeng nodded slightly, picked up the old chip, and walked out first. When going downstairs, he whispered, Lingxi, quickly help me transfer my personal information to the chip and change the name to Lin Fei. You are really cautious. Wen had been waiting for him all along, and when she saw him downstairs, she waved excitedly. Wanner, thank you. Everything is ready. I'm planning to leave and come to the bar to see you another day. Do you have a place to live? Not yet. Do you want to go to my house? I've divided the house into 2 rooms, and the children and the elderly sleep together. Don't worry, let's sleep peacefully, I won't take advantage of you. The beautiful woman chuckled. No need, I'll find a cheap hotel. Wasting money, whatever you want. I'm familiar with this area and can recommend affordable and high-quality products to you. Do you have anything worth tens of yuan per night? Of course there is. You go to Feng Yuan Inn and it's 68 every night. Line. Let's go together. My house is also in that direction, you can drop me off by the way. How long does it take to get to the hotel? Nearly half an hour. Then sit for a while before leaving, my identity hasn't been confirmed yet. Oh, I almost forgot. After more than 30 minutes, the 2 of them retrieved the stored items and walked out of the bar. There are several old cars waiting for passengers outside, all of which are unmanned. After getting on the bus, Wen said, First, take me to building 248 in K97 district, and then take him to Feng Yuan Inn. Okay, the in-car intelligence system replied. Ouyang, do you want me to come to your place? The fairy's eyes were seductive, knowing the outcome but deliberately teasing. I don't have any money, you'll be at a loss. Ning Chengfeng already knows how to deal with it. Ah, okay, we'll talk about it later. Wen got off the car halfway. After the young man arrived at the destination, he paid the cash and the door was only opened. Walking into Feng Yuan Inn and registering with a chip, I found that Lin Fei's information had indeed been effective. After running around all day, I finally had a nest. Lingxi, I don't have any money in my chip, and I don't have much cash left. I need to make money quickly. Do you dare to work in first class or second class communities? The avatar in the chip is not much different from before, so it's better to be careful and avoid the limelight first. Then you have to hide in the shadows and do some invisible work. I'm afraid that's the only way. I'll go to the dark web tonight to see if there are any tasks suitable for you. Okay. Ning Chengfeng did not slack off. After completing his practice of Shuttle of Destiny, he lay on the small bed and fell asleep. This time, I finally met the long-lost scumbag. Lushu is a beautiful city with many famous universities throughout the country, and Yaxing University is one of them. On the evening of September 30th, 993, outside the east gate of the school, the Maple Forest restaurant by the artificial river was bustling with business. The low temperature outside made the glass windows foggy. There are no private rooms in the store, and there are 6 tables in a room of less than 20 square meters. At 9.30, someone paid the bill and left one after another. At a table by the window, 2 senior roommates were chatting hotly. I heard that Jiang Duo, a tall and handsome student from class 3, brought women from society back to his dormitory last week. During the day, there were still classmates present, so he pulled up the curtain and said the slightly slimmer Jiang Duo. At 1.72 meters tall, he is very handsome with slightly sunken eye sockets, and his eyes blend with a complex meaning of purity, wisdom, and composure, which is quite destructive to girls. Speaking of this, there's another funny plot, said Lu Haoran. What? Jiang Duo became interested. Jiang Duo has a small and skinny attendant who mixes with him in society. Once, while taking a bus, Jiang Duo saw a tall and cold beautiful woman holding onto the handrail, walking over confidently and holding onto someone else's tender little hand. After chatting for a while, he hooked up and became a traitor. Inspired by this, the assistant imitated it with a certain style, but ended up with a thin and weak girl stomping on her feet with high heels, being publicly scolded as a thug and laughing at me to death. Pup, Jiang Duo took a sip of beer. It's almost done, should we go back? Wait a moment, I want to announce an important decision. What's going on? It's a sudden surprise. The unit I am looking for is not allowed by the school, and they say they must obey the allocation. I am unwilling to comply and have decided to take the postgraduate entrance examination. What? Are you crazy? Those who take the postgraduate entrance exam are all top students, and they have been preparing since the beginning of the year. With your average or lower grades, it's impossible to succeed just by cramming for it. Lu Haoran disagreed. I have made up my mind, starting from tomorrow, I will not attend classes and focus solely on preparing for the exam. What about attendance? Please help me promise when calling the roll, brother. Anyway, there are many people and I can't hear it. In return, I'll treat you to a barbecue every 2 weeks. What should I do if I don't attend class and take the exam? Bring me the review outline before the exam, stay up all night and strive to pass. Do you have this talent? Once I have identified the direction, I will be completely focused on it. Besides, what does it matter if I don't pass the exam? Just obey the allocation. Hey, okay, it's up to you. Xiao Duo, are you really separated from the Shui Qin from the English department? Lu Haoran changed his tone and asked. Yes, her sister had a long-distance relationship and had a very difficult time with her family. Her parents gave her an ultimatum that if she wanted to find a boyfriend, it could only be from our province, Jiang Duo replied. Unfortunately, she is a typical little gem. There have been rumors recently that you have been hooking up with socialite Ning. Don't spread rumors, they only talked about one boyfriend who has already graduated. The rest are self-interested suitors. Oh, really good. Well, the relationship is okay, everyone is learning from hardship, which can be considered as having fun in the midst of hardship. Interestingly, your ability to pick girls is not inferior to Jiang Duo's. It's different. I'm an elegant type, he's too vulgar. Last time I went to the dormitory area of Nanhui University, there was a sentence written on the blackboard at the entrance: "This is a portrait of you." What? Scare the timid to death, hold on to the bold. Huh, you're really impressive. You're a talented person, but unfortunately, you're limited by your inner talent. How can I be as wild as you? If I'm interested, I dare to approach you. As the class monitor of the physics department, do you know how they pursue Sun Xiaohua? Tell me about it. Damn it, in the lecture hall, I dare not sit next to the cold beauty and can only quench my thirst with binoculars in the back row. Ah. Last Christmas, he wanted to give a gift and quietly put a calendar in the back seat of someone else's bicycle, fearing that someone might take it away. He also had a classmate in the class guard nearby. This is too shy, isn't it? Shui Qin is your first love, so you dare to intercept me at the school gate. I'm curious, how do you deal with socialites? I've said it, it's not a socialite. Okay, Chening. One day, I went to the mailbox and found a girl in a purple dress squatting on the ground to pick up letters. Her swan neck was so white that it was dazzling, and her waist was even thinner than usual, which made me feel the urge to hug and kiss her neck. She turned her head to look at me, her seductive face really shook me, and then Lu Haoran was envious. This top-notch girl actually attracted me. I inexplicably followed her to the classroom for self-study and sat in front of her in the row. Later, I regained my composure and decided to go out for some air. I turned around and boldly asked her name, department, and major. Did she tell you? Yeah, what's there to keep confidential? They're all single anyway. Ah, it's so easy. This is just an acquaintance, how did it get along well later? We haven't established a romantic relationship yet, it's just that we have a good impression of each other. As for how to get closer, it's okay to teach you. One weekend, the student union organized a dance party in the small auditorium, and there was a constant stream of people inviting Chening. She couldn't even rest and was naturally exhausted, and the fan happened to malfunction. When I invited her, I didn't ask her to dance. Instead, I said, the auditorium is too hot and full of sweat. Why don't we go out for a walk? I'll treat you to a bottle of chilled soda. She was very happy and immediately agreed. In the midst of envy, jealousy, and hatred, I took her away. After that, you can unleash your imagination, bully. Can we still do this? The roommate sighed. Starting from the second day, Jiang Duo turned to asceticism, and Chen Meiren often accompanied her. Every corner of the campus left sweet footprints of the two of them. With the spring festival approaching in 994, the withered leaves of wudong trees are covered with snow, which together with the old buildings wrapped in snow make the campus look pure and clean. Jiang Duo, try this scarf. I'm using a combination of blue and brown. Do you like it? It's very warm and nice. Thank you, Xiaoying. You're too hardworking. You need to pay attention to nutrition and exercise. Did you sleep well? Not very good. Find a school doctor to prescribe Anshan brain liquid. Hee, I opened a few large bottles. Anyway, it's free, don't waste it. How many math problem sets have you finished? 3 major books. What about English and politics? I memorized 20,000 words and 7 political books. Your memory, I have to admit it. Sigh, time is running out, we can only compete. Jiang Duo, I want to tell you something. Chening hesitated. You say. You are a test during winter vacation, and I may not be able to accompany you. I am planning to go to Suizhou. Well, isn't that your boyfriend's hometown? Jiang Duo was alert, with a picture of a beautiful woman being held in someone else's arms in his mind. I want to go and clarify with him. What are you saying? If you really want to live with me, make a promise. When I graduate, I will apply to go to Suizhou, otherwise, it will be cut off from now on. I will focus on accompanying you. Ning gritted her silver teeth and confided in herself. Upon hearing this, Jiang Duo was extremely displeased. Despite liking the woman in front of him, being treated as a backup tire hurt his self-esteem. He said coldly, "You go. What don't you say to me?" Ning thought he would object or plead. "My legs are on you, and I can't stop them. Don't worry, my heart is very strong. After being stimulated by this, not only will I not become decadent, but I will also strive for strength." I'm sorry, Ning felt conflicted, with her old feelings for her boyfriend, as well as her attachment and guilt towards Jiang Duo. "You took care of me very well, there's nothing wrong with me. I should thank you." This is true, he felt it, but as a sensitive person, he has made a decision. I'm done with this woman. End of this chapter.